Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture series on VLSI and microelectronics. It is a subject in 7th semester BTech ECE. The course code is EC702. I am Paulo Sridhar, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. So let us start lecture number 15 of this lecture series. So our lecture number 15 of this subject VLSI and microelectronics, it consists of 45 number of total lectures and the credit is 4. That is, it is having 3 lectures and 1 tutorial per week. Now in the previous lecture, that is in lecture number 14, we had started module number 4, that is layout, design rules and fabrication steps of the ICs. Now let us see what topics we are going to study in module number 4. The first one is micron and the lambda design rules. Second one is stick diagram and layout. In the stick diagram and layout, we are going to study the layouts of CMOS inverter, NAND gate and the NOR gate. Next one is the fabrication steps of the IC. In the fabrication steps of the ICs, we are going to study about the wafer presentation or the wafer preparation and the characterizations. Next is the oxidation or oxidation. Next is photolithography, etching, diffusion, ion implantation, metallization and packaging. Next is CMOS N-well process, an overview of the P-well and twin turf process. Now this was the module 4 syllabus. Now let us come to the course of outcome. The course outcomes are quite important for a student because the students will able to judge himself or herself depending on the course outcome, because after the completion of a particular course, all these course outcomes, that is here in our subject is VLSI and microelectronics, and here you can see there are 6 number of course outcomes. So this course outcomes must be fulfilled after the completion of the VLSI and microelectronics syllabus. Okay, now let us see the course outcomes. The first course outcome is able to describe scale of the integration SSI, then MSI, LSI, VLSI, Moore's law, scaling, short channel effect, VLSI design, then flow, FPGA architecture and construct gate level design with the PAL and PLA concept. Next one is, or the second course outcome is able to analyze CMOS inverter voltage transfer characteristics with the parameters VIL, VOL, VOH, VIH, VTH, and based on the knowledge of digital circuit design methodologies like the CMOS, pass transistor, TG, DC, VSL, dynamic logic, NODA logic, then able to construct schematics of the combinational sequential circuit, SRAM, DRAM cell using the MOSFET. Next one is the third course outcome. Based on the fundamental concept of the MOSFET characteristics and model, able to calculate value of the resistance of the current source, MOS diode, current of the current mirror circuit, voltage of references such as the voltage divider, threshold voltage and band gap, and emulate resistance of the switch capacitor circuit, gain of the switch capacity integrator and first order switch capacitor filter. So this was the third number course outcome. The fourth number course outcome is with the help of the MOS transistor model able to calculate the value of the parameters to design the CMOS differential amplifier and also two-stage op-amp. Next is fifth number is able to describe fabrication steps of the ICs and construct stick diagram and layout of the CMOS inverter and basic gates based on the lambda and the micron design rules. Sixth number is able to calculate gate array, dynamic power, short circuit power and leakage power and total power consumption across the CMOS circuit based on the derived expression of the delay and power. you can see that this 5th number course objective or the course outcome, that is able to describe fabrication steps of the ICs and construct stick diagram and layout of the CMOS inverter and basic gates based on the lambda and the micron design rule. This particular course outcome or the part of the course outcome will be fulfilled after the completion of this particular lecture number 15 of this subject VLSI and microelectronics. So let us see and start the lecture number 15. So our lecture number 15 of the course code EC702. We are in module number 4, that is layout, design rules and fabrication steps of the ICs. So today we are going to start the wafer presentation, wafer characterization, photolithography, exposure techniques and comparison between different exposure systems. So today's lecture is a very important lecture because here we are going to study photolithography and exposure techniques, which are quite important for your semester exams. So let us start lecture number 15. So before starting lecture number 15, let us have a quick recap of the previous lectures. So in the previous lecture, we had started the module 4, that is basically the fabrication steps. So first we had started the IC technology, that is why we are using the silicon in the IC making, why silicon and why the utilities of silicon are so much that we are using the silicon in the CMOS technology. Next is IC manufacturing processes. All the processes we had seen and all the block diagrams. With all the block diagrams, we have seen the IC manufacturing process. Next is the crystal growth. We have seen how we are making the EGS, that is the electron grade silicon, in the crystal growth. And next we have seen how to make the single crystal silicon. In the single crystal silicon growth, we have learned about the Kruszelski technique. Next is the float zone technique and the Bridgman technique. And also all the diagrams and characteristics of the single crystal that is being formed, we have learned in that lecture. So let us start lecture number 15. So our first topic today is wafer preparation. Now we have seen that while we are making the single crystal silicon, we have made an ignot. An ignot is a cylindrical type of a crystal. Now an ignot is cut into thin slices which are known as wafers. Before the ignot is sliced, there are several steps. First, both the ends of the ignot are removed and its surface is grounded so that any diameter variation is made constant. Then the primary and the secondary flat regions are cut along the entire length of the ignot. You can see the primary flat and the secondary flat regions here, and this one is the ignot or the wafer made with the ignot that are sliced or thinly sliced. You can see this one. All these things are the slices which makes the wafer, and this one is the primary flat and this one is the secondary flat. I hope this wafer preparation is clear to all of you. Now you can see here that this primary flat and secondary flat is there. So these flat regions are cut to identify the type, that is P-type and the N-type of the wafer and crystal orientation. The primary flat gives the mechanical stability of the wafer when it undergoes further processing steps. The ignot is then sliced into a wafers. A diamond tipped saw is used to slice the ignot. The sliced wafers are again lapped for better flatness. A mixture of the glycerin and Al2O3 is used for lapping purpose. The lapped wafers are finally polished once again to get a smooth surface so that the microelectronic devices that are fabricated using the photolithography techniques can be fabricated easily. Next is typical wafer diameters are 5 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches and 12 inches. The wafer thickness is about 500 to 775 micrometer depending on the wafer diameters. So this was in short all the things in wafer presentation or the wafer preparation. Wafers are cut into so tiny slices, what, with the help of a diamond tipped saw. You can understand how much tiny they are. And what is the width? This width is very tiny. So let us move to the next slide. Next is the wafer characterization. The electrical, optical and the mechanical characteristics of the crystal are strongly dependent on the crystal imperfections or the defects. There are 4 different types of defects in a crystal. First one is the point defects. The point defects are of different types such as the substitutional, interstitial, Beckett-C and the Frankel. Second one is the line defects or the dislocations. These are of 2 types such as the H and the screw. Next one is the area defects. Area defects is of 2 types, twins and grain boundaries. Next is the volume defects. Now what happened? After the crystal growth, the wafers are cut and they are characterized for mobility, lifetime and the resistivity. Now you can understand this mobility, lifetime and resistivity, all things you have learned in the solid state devices subject. I hope you remember all this. Now mobility is characterized using the Hall effect measurement. The lifetime is characterized using the Haines-Shortkey experiment, that is Haines-Shortkey experiment, and the resistivity is measured using the standard technique called the 4-probe techniques. All these methods of measuring the mobility, lifetime or the resistivity, all this you have studied in the solid state devices subject. I hope this slide is clear to all of you. Now let us move to the next slide. The next slide is a very important topic, that is the photolithography. Now photolithography is a technology to create a pattern on the silicon wafer using an ultraviolet ray of the light. These are the steps. You can see silicon wafer, silicon dioxide, photoresist, UV light, mask, then pattern photoresist and the strip resist. Now how this photolithography process is being created? It is creating patterns on the photoresist. The pattern transfer from the photoresist to the silicon dioxide layer by etching. This etching is also a very important thing. Now let us briefly describe the process of photolithography. Now the components of the photolithography process are silicon wafer, photoresist. Photoresist is nothing but a light sensitive material. Next is the lens. Fourth one is the mask. The mask is, for each layer it is to be patterned with the desired pattern. Desired mask means, suppose it is a it is a type of a layer from which this layer is given into some material, and this it is like it will be giving the outer shape of the circuit. It is the mask. Next is the UV light source and the method of projecting the image of the mask onto the photoresist. Next one is the developer solution. This developer solution is nothing but a method of developing the photoresist, that is selectively removing it from the regions where it was exposed. Okay, you can again see the diagram. You can see this diagram. These are the 5 steps. Now these 5 steps will be explained one by one. Now let us see. The first step is the wafer is being first cleaned and silicon dioxide layer is being deposited on the surface of the wafer. You can see the diagram here. This is the wafer is being cleaned and the layer of the silicon dioxide is being deposited on the surface. Okay. Next is the wafer is then coated with the photoresist on the top. I hope this is clear. The photoresist is being coated to the wafer. Then the UV light is projected on the wafer through the mask and the lens. This one is the mask and this one is the lens. This is the mask. Okay. The mask has certain transitions transparent and the other regions are opaque. This is the transparent and the opaque regions. The transparent regions of the mask allow the UV ray. These are the transparent and the opaque regions. These transparent regions of the mask allow the UV light to pass through and fall on the photoresist. Depending on whether the photoresist is positive or negative, it undergoes some chemical changes and becomes more soluble and less soluble to the etchant solution. Pattern is formed on this pattern. You can see this pattern is formed. The pattern is formed on the photoresist. For the positive photoresist, the pattern is same as the mask, and for the negative photoresist, the pattern is inverse of the mask. The wafer is dipped into the developer solution. The soluble, now this you can see this one is dipped into the solution. Now what happens in the solution? The soluble parts of the photoresist and the underlaid silicon dioxide are etched out. The photoresist is then stripped off. This is the stripped resist. And the replica of the mask is formed on the silicon dioxide layer. This one is the ultimate device that is being created. I hope this diagram and all the process is clear to all of you. I hope this one is clear to all of you. The things I said is written here. For clarity, it is being written here, and the process I had already explained in this diagram or through this diagram. I hope it is clear to all of you. This photolithography process is very important for all of you. Now let us move to the next slide. That is the exposure techniques. The exposure techniques are basically of two types. First one is the shadow printing. Second one is the projection printing. Shadow printing is again of two types, contact printing and proximity printing. Now we will be explaining each of this. Now let us move to the next slide. So here we will be explaining each of this shadow printing, then projection printing. Now in the shadow printing, the wafer and the mask are either in direct contact or separated by a small gap. But what happens in projection printing? But in projection printing, the wafer and the mask are separated by a large distance, typically a few centimeters away. Okay, you can see the projection printing here. This is the diagram. Shadow printing is again of two types, contact printing and the proximity printing. This is the contact printing and the proximity printing. In contact printing, the mask and the wafer are in direct contact. This you can see this mask and the wafer, they are in direct contact. Whereas in proximity printing, the mask and the wafer are separated by a small gap. This is a small gap in between them. All these mechanisms are being explained here. You can see it like this. Okay, this light is here. This is the lens. This is the mask, and the process is going on. This is the proximity printing. This is the lens, and there is a small distance between them. Again, there is a distance between the mask and the wafer. And in case of projection, this is projected here in the lens, and there again there is this light is being projected in the mask. Again in mask, and there is again a lens here, and again the light from the mask is being projected in the lens, and from the lens we are getting the light here. There is a certain distance between each of them in case of few centimeters. So I hope this is clear to all of you with the diagrams. Now let us see what is the formula of the feature size or the critical dimension or the numerical aperture in the next slide. Now in shadow printing, the minimum feature size that can be patterned depends on the wavelength, that is the lambda of the light being used for exposure and the gap G between the mask and the wafer. The minimum feature length is called the critical dimension, that is a CD, and the CD is given by root over of lambda G. Okay, the lambda is the wavelength. And for projection printing, the resolution of the projection system has been given by Lm is equal to K1 into lambda by NA, where NA is the nothing but the numerical aperture of the lens, and K1 is a constant, and the value of the K1 is 0.6. Depending on this process, this K1 depends on some process, and K1 process means either it is the exposure techniques. All this depends on, and the value of K1 is 0.6. Okay, now all this you can see is the numerical aperture of the lens. This is the numerical aperture of the lens and the projection image system. All these are explained here. Okay, I hope this slide is also clear to all of you. Now depth of the focus or DOF is given by, you let me write here, depth of the focus DOF. This is also important. DOF is equal to K2 into lambda by of NA square. This one is the depth of focus, that is K2 into lambda by NA square, where K2 is another constant that also depends on the technique or the process. It is, the value of K2 is from 0.5 to 1. Okay, I hope all these exposure techniques are clear to all of you. I hope these are clear to all of you. So let us move to the next slide. Next is the comparison between different exposure systems. First one is limitations of the contact printing are reduced mask life, high defect density in the printed pattern, and interaction of defects in the resist and the mask. Next case is, in the proximity printing, a small gap between the mask and the photoresist eliminates defects as there is no contact printing or contact or direct contact. But the disadvantages are increased diffraction effects and hence a limit on the minimum feature size that can be printed. Third one is, in case of projection printing, is commonly used. The wafer is separated from the mask by several centimeters. Now the advantages of the projection printing are increased mask life. Advantages of the proximate or projection printing are increased mask life, and the features on the reticle do not have to be as small as the final image. So this were the comparison of the different exposure systems. You can see the advantages and also the disadvantages. So we have come to the last of this lecture. So thank you all of you for being in the class and hope to meet you soon. Thank you.